had.
Who was the first guy that was employed?
Employed for Elvis?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the first one that was employed by Elvis was
Gene?
Gene, yeah.
Gene.
Gene, okay.
His cousin Gene.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then from there on, went on down the line.
I'm surprised that Gene did not go to Germany with him.
Well, Gene was married.
Gene was married, yeah.
And he had to take kids, and actually he didn't. Elvis paid him, but he paid him cash, and he couldn't. He can go over there and leave his wife and his kids. So.
Well,
Stranger thing is that
was
happened.
Gene considered original Memphis Mafia?
Oh
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
We'll talk about Gene a little bit because everybody's kind of asked you to tell about him, so let him be next on your list.
Well, Gene and Elvis, growing up were close, and Gene was, I think, almost a year older than Elvis, and of course they, when Elvis, we all moved to Memphis, it wasn't long after that Gene and his family moved, up here too, and of course Gene and Elvis, they ran around together because they was close in Tupelo, and when they got to Memphis, they just at the same age, and they just pretty much hung around there. There's pictures of Gene, like
Yeah.
in
Fairgrounds.
at the fairgrounds, with Elvis and all, pictures,
Movie set pictures.
movie set pictures. Oh well, it's just a lot of them. But Gene was, and Gene and Elvis, they was as close, I guess, as you can get. He was crazy about Gene, and
I want to stop you for just a second.
Go ahead.
It is our usual. We did not have any beans or refried beans or anything ethnic Latino food that's upset our stomach. It is Wonga snoring under the table. Just so you know.
I thought about that. But
Yeah, I did hear her.
Yeah. Well, one time he kind of moved and raised his leg up.
Y'all blame Wonga, but y'all know darn well.
Yeah, one time
about
when you moved and your leg kind of raised up, she snored loud, and I was like, "Oh my God!" When I can catch a minute, I'm going to let them know that we did not have beans or anything before we started. It is Wonga. Okay, but go ahead. Gene and Elvis were close.
They
And
were.
Junior was
Junior,
good.
yeah, and Junior, he was a little older than Gene, but Junior was real close to Elvis too. In fact, I think it was Gene, Junior, Lamar that went to California with him when he filmed. Gene was with him when they filmed Loving You. And
Really?
of course, he had a small part in that. And then Junior went with them the next time, and they were in Jailhouse Rock. Gene Jr. and Lamar. Lamar came into the picture along about the same time as Alec did. And so, that's kind of how that all went about in the earlier days. Elvis, took them with him, took them with him, and they stayed, at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and during the time, and of course Elvis, like I say, he put in all the bills. But anyway,
The Beverly Wilshire Hotel, is it the same one they talk about in Pretty Woman?
yeah,
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
yeah,
That's
It's
right
all
over.
one.
Yeah.
But, there was probably a lot of pretty women, it just wasn't filmed. Ow! You better not. I wasn't talking about me. I wasn't even there. But
Lamar was he was not original Memphis Mafia, was he?
who, Lamar?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
Yeah, Lamar was with Elvis in Germany. Lamar met Elvis, and I remember when Lamar came. It was in '57, and I think it was in April.
Lamar was so funny.
And he came up and he got George another time. He got George because George and Elvis, you know, they were close, and I hate a dang phone.
Interrupt.
Pardon us. but
Wonka does too. She's
Phone's
Well, you can
ringing.
go ahead and talk, and I'll go
And
check.
but
I'll check for your agent.
tell him I'm busy right now. Don't call. We'll pick this up in a minute. Welcome back to Elvis Fans Matter. We're going to pick up where we left off. Phone ringing and all that kind of stuff, so we had to kind of cut it there. During that time, I shrank Kermit.
Kermit.
Now, this actually is...
I was like, what is he doing? His cut.
The top to your.
set chopped to my straw. All righty, let's get back. I remember when Lamar came up, him and Cliff Cleaves were staying at the YMCA downtown Memphis, and anyway, Cliff had, he had met Elvis too, and so when Lamar, he first came to Graceland in '57, I remember he was driving his Chevrolet. He had a 1956 black and white 210 Chevrolet. And Lamar, you know, he was a colorful guy. And man, he could come up with some stuff. Believe me, he just... anybody's ever met him, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He just, you know, there's no telling what he's liable to say or come up with. And Elvis just naturally took a liking to him right off, you know. Elvis had another guy that was kind of heavy set, who was around in '56, named Arthur Hooten. And after Elvis bought Graceland and all, he was making movies and traveling so much that Arthur, he found, you know, he found that he needed to stay here and take care of his family. So after that, didn't see too much of Arthur anymore. And but Lamar, he was there, boy, and he was he was there to stay. Can't say enough about Lamar. Like I say, he was colorful and, you know,
Dramatic.
Yeah.
His favorite word was astronomical.
Yeah.
Everything was astronomical.
But then you got, you know, let's see who else was there.
So was Lamar from Memphis?
No.
Greenville, Mississippi, I think.
Okay.
I thought it was Cleveland.
Cleveland, yeah.
Cleveland,
Yeah,
okay.
Cleveland.
Cleveland,
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
And,
So what brought him to Memphis?
Urge to travel's all I can tell you. I don't know really what brought him to Memphis. Like I say,
He wanted to meet Elvis
I
for
know
one
he wanted-
thing.
Yeah. And like I say, him and Cliff, you know, they stayed at
They
the
were friends.
YMCA, and they were friends, and they knew George, and you know, George actually, you know, introduced to a lot of different guys to.
So where was Cliff from?
Cliff was from Jackson, Tennessee, if I remember.
Okay, and they just met up and were
No, that
friends.
was a character too.
Oh, boy, he was
Cliff,
a
Cliff was a character. But he actually didn't work for Elvis.
No, he never did. He
Just a friend.
he was in Loving You
Cliff.
in the movie. Yeah. But anyway, going on, I think next is, I think we've talked about Red, Joe, Alan,
Gene. And
You haven't
now
talked,
Marty.
You haven't talked a whole lot about Joe Esposito.
No, Joe.
Yeah,
Joe was from Chicago.
Yeah, he was. And,
Okay.
Yeah, I talked about him. I talked about him,
Well, he was
He was
part of
road
like
manager,
the road
yeah.
manager in business
Yeah,
and all of
business
that.
and all that.
So what brought him to Memphis?
Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
He was in the army with
With
Elvis in
Elvis.
Germany.
Okay.
So when he got out, I think Elvis had asked him if he wanted to come to work for him, and he came.
So that's how they met, was the army.
In the
Was
army.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Joe was a funny, nice guy. All of them, Elvis had nicknames for all of them, and I think Joe talked real, the fast and northern.
Yeah.
His was Motor Mouth, wasn't it?
Uh-huh,
Motor
Motor
Mouth. Red's name was Wiley, like Wiley Coyote, because everything he did, backfired. You mess. And Lamar's was the great speckled bird. I don't remember Gene having. I don't think when he had all those bracelets made for y'all with nicknames, Gene was not there anymore.
He wasn't there anymore. Alan was hog ears.
Alan was hog ears. Billy was mighty
Mouth, yeah.
Mighty Mouth.
Well,
Yeah.
Richard Davis was Broom.
Marty was original Memphis Mafia.
Yeah.
His was Moon.
Moon. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a character too. You had to know Marty to love him, because if Marty liked you, and he was real tenderhearted.
Yeah.
He came off as a real grouch, but he wasn't like that. He was real,
No.
especially with kids and older people and stuff like that. Marty was real tenderhearted, and he'd ask things for other people, to do for other people, get people to. I didn't
Yeah,
say too. Joe had two daughters, Debbie and Cindy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Cindy's on Facebook a lot now. Cindy Barr is her name, and Debbie is a little bit older than Danny, and Joey and Cindy are real close. Joey was born a little bit before Cindy.
Okay.
And Joe's wife then was Joni, who was really, I think she was Miss Missouri, really a really pretty woman, and real nice.
And
person.
that's their mother.
That's
was
Debbie
Joni.
and Cindy's mother.
Okay.
And they have a brother, Anthony, but that was from another marriage.
Okay.
So he had 3 children.
Okay.
And Marty had 3. He had Sherry, Mark, and Angie. And Patsy Lacker, that was my best friend in the whole world. We stayed together constantly before we got to travel.
Now, where was Marty from?
New York.
Okay, so how did
New York.
he get to? What was the deal with him with Memphis?
His
and-
daddy moved. His daddy wanted to get him and his sister out of New York and away from stuff that went on up there.
Right.
So they moved to Memphis.
Okay.
And Marty was once a DJ
Yeah, in Louisiana.
in Louisiana.
Really?
Yeah.
disc jockey, yeah.
Disc jockey.
But Marty was, he was, like I say, he was a good person.
You
really
and Marty were roommates a lot.
Yeah. And like Joe said, you had to know Marty, but he was. I know one time he had seen this black lady, and somebody had told him about her, and she was handicapped, and so he told Elvis about her, and so Elvis, she had just a lounge chair that she sat in,
She couldn't get around.
so Elvis bought her a wheelchair, and I don't know, I think he gave her like $1,000, and all that to kind of take care of her. And Marty was that way,
Marty was.
real
Where did he know her
person.
from?
Huh?
How did Marty know
He just
her?
found out about her
He
some
just
way,
heard about her.
and or maybe he might have read it in the paper or something. That's just the way Marty was.
But it bothered him.
It
Yeah.
bothered him, and he was just telling Elvis about it, and Elvis said, "Well, let's go get her fixed up." So
Good.
they, I loved Marty and Patsy. They just and their kids, all their kids, and we did all kind of. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff we've done together, all of us. We used to live next door to each other after Elvis passed, and just
Well, we lived together out in California too.
Yeah.
Not together, but we had apartments in the
after
same
we
apartment
moved
building.
out from Elvis's house, we got an apartment after Joey was born, and Patsy and Marty got one right next door to us, and we were just always together. We went shopping together, and I mean everything, just cookouts. We stayed in touch. We always stayed in touch with Marty and Patsy.
I was gonna say, would
Until-
y'all
yeah.
probably say that y'all were the closest with Marty and Patsy throughout
Yeah,
time?
Probably
because they
so,
still
yeah.
lived in
Memphis.
in Memphis. Yeah.
We were. I know before Marty passed away in the hospital, we had gone up there to see him, and Billy had just had his heart attack, and Marty. Before Marty went in, Marty was going, "Oh no, I can't lose my Billy. I can't lose my Billy." That's what he called him, Billy. And but Billy was able to go and visit him, and I pushed him up in a wheelchair, and Marty was tickled to death to see him.
That was the last time I got to see him.
That's the last time we got to see him.
But anyway, getting off on a sad note here.
Yep.
Who have we not covered now? Let's see. It's been
I'm trying to think.
Red, Sonny.
Sonny.